Did you know that over 250,000 murders in the US remain unsolved? Now imagine discovering a locked metal container in the middle of nowhere, and inside a woman held captive for months. What's even more terrifying? The man who put her there was hiding something even darker, something that would expose a 13-year-old cold case and reveal a real-life monster. This is the chilling case of Kayla Brown, the woman found shackled inside a shipping container on a remote property. But this isn't just a kidnapping story. As police dug deeper, they uncovered a horrifying truth, a serial killer hiding in plain sight. And it all started with one cryptic confession that cracked open a long-forgotten massacre. Scott Ponder was the quintessential Southern charmer, a local boy with a passion for fast bikes who spun his love for Suzukis into a thriving local business in Spartanburg, South Carolina. He was the type that would take $5 and turn it into $50, and take $50 and turn it into $500. He had a fantastic mind. The dealership actually started that January of that year. It just kept growing and growing, and it was a family affair that even brought Scott's mom into the fold. His business was thriving to the point where even his mother was involved, so they had a close bond. It appears Superbike Motorsports became a thriving haven for racing enthusiasts in a part of South Carolina, known for its wide-open roads, all with the help of mechanic Chris Sherbet and Scott's best friend, Brian Lucas. Brian had quit his job and started working just for Scott. He loved Scott. It was a good life, and for Scott and his wife, Melissa, it was all about to get better. Scott looked like he was on top of the world. He had a wife, a best friend, and his mother. Everybody was in his corner, the whole town actually. In my hometown, at my brother's home, I didn't tell anybody. I had run into the drugstore, grabbed a pregnancy test, took it, and started screaming in the bathroom. Now he has a baby on the way, so he is on top of the world. I loved that he knew this baby was coming, but all that joy would come to a screeching halt when Scott showed up to his store one afternoon. That day I had talked to him at maybe 2:15. He called me and it was a normal, "Well, I'll see you later. I love you. Bye." That was the last time I talked to him. Wow. It was a slow day at the shop. Brian wasn't even supposed to be there that day. He had the day off. He was going away with his family for a long weekend and was called in just minutes before because there was a customer whose motorcycle needed something done. His best friend actually came into work even though he wasn't supposed to be there. He was supposed to be on vacation. That disgruntled customer would prove to be a crucial clue. While Scott was talking with him, a friend named Noel called the shop to see if he could drop by. He was only 7 minutes away. All the time it took for Scott to hang up the phone, someone opened fire at everyone in the shop. So you decided to kill them. This happened within that amount of time. Noel said when he came up, he thought that Scott and Brian were playing a trick on him. He said he actually kicked Brian, to try to tell him, "Okay guys, that's a good trick." But just out of the blue, somebody came to the shop and killed everybody inside. What is that all about? This is crazy. He quickly realized it was no laughing matter. His mom had been shot. The mechanic had been shot. The owner, whoever did the murders, shot everybody in the chest and the head point blank. That's horrible. A massacre in broad daylight. Mechanic Chris and Mom Beverly were shot point blank in the back of the building, the storefront and parking lot in their attempt to escape. All four would die from their injuries. Word would make its way to Scott's wife, Melissa. "That's horrible," she said, because she had just found out that she was pregnant. That's horrible for Scott. He was on top of the world, and now this happens. PH called on my cell phone. It was one of his vendors, and she said, "I'm trying to get up to the dealership, and I can't get there. There's a huge blockade of law enforcement, and I'm hearing little things that there might have been a shooting." Immediately, I started calling him. Call and call. I would call his cell phone, but it was shut off. I know she was like, "What's going on?" She couldn't get in touch with Scott. He wasn't answering the phone. I know she had to be worried sick. I didn't register it at the time until I looked up at one of our family friends who was standing there. The tears were rolling down his face. As soon as I saw the tears rolling down his face, I knew. I knew that this was real. It had to be a painful, painful situation to find out your husband was killed. So let's figure out who the killer is. A brutal quadruple murder claimed the lives of Superbike Motorsports owner Scott Ponder, his best friend Brian Lucas, his mother Beverly Guy, and mechanic Chris Sherbet. So you decided to kill them? It's a question that would baffle police. The last recorded customer at the Superbike dealership claimed that there was one other person waiting around the shop on the day of the killings. He said he saw a person who had on a leather coat. It was a rather warm day, and he was looking at a motorcycle. So what would be his reasoning? Whoever killed all of these people, what could be the reason to do something like this? He acted like he never had any motorcycle experience. Whoever that was is believed to have been the shooter, but months would pass. Then, 13 years. No leads to a real face or name. 13 years. No leads whatsoever. 13 long years. Somebody got away with murder, and they're not going to quit. With no leads in sight, some mysterious missing persons cases were about to unleash more connections in Spartanburg than detectives in this small town could ever imagine. A married couple with a drug history had vanished. At first, law enforcement wondered whether addiction may account for their disappearance. Yeah, that's very suspicious. Very suspicious. But a year later, a local bartender named Kayla Brown and her boyfriend Charlie Carver also went missing. Okay, so now we got two couples that have gone missing after this murder. In addition to bartending, Kayla worked odd jobs cleaning properties for a local real estate agent named Todd Colehep. Hello, how you doing? Doing well. A normal-seeming business leader, Colehep tells detectives Kayla and Charlie were hired to clear brush on his farm the day they disappeared. Several of the questions that we asked were inconsistent with what phone records said. He tells investigators they were only on his farm for 90 minutes, but cell phone records tell a different story. You really need to stop lying. An hour and a half? She was on your property for several hours. That's conflicting. And when they discover that Todd is a registered sex offender because of an Arizona juvenile kidnapping and rape conviction, they get warrants for his home and farm simultaneously. So now we got a sex offender in the mix. I'm still not understanding why these people were killed and why these two couples are now missing. Did you say that she was only there an hour and a half when she was there pretty much the whole afternoon? You really need to stop lying. I don't have an answer for that, sir. While police questioned Todd at his home, another team raided his farm looking for clues about Kayla or Charlie. What they discovered instead, locked inside a Conex container, shook them to their core. What did they find? What could it be? How are you, honey? Oh my goodness, there's a lady inside of the container on that guy's farm. We're going to get you out of there. She's all chained up. It looks like somebody has been going there and feeding her. Could it be the guy who owns the farm? The container where Cap had been keeping her alive as his sex slave? Okay, this guy's crazy, a pure nut job. After murdering her boyfriend in front of her, body cameras captured the stunning moments in candid confessions. Todd Pep shot Charlie Carver 3 times in the chest, wrapped him in a blue tarp, put him in the bucket of the tractor, locked me down here, and I never saw him again. Minutes later, they also capture Kayla at home. You have Kayla on your property. She was locked in a container. She has told us that you shot and killed Charlie. You're under arrest right now for kidnapping. If you want to help yourself, tell me where Charlie's at so we can go find his body. But Colehep, a textbook psychopath, does his best to maintain control. So you're saying you didn't lock her up? You didn't put her in the Connex box or anything? You really need to stop lying. Probably a good thing. Go ahead and put him in the back of your car. That police officer isn't playing with him. He puts him in the police car. This guy has major issues. Something's wrong with him. He's doing this to people, killing them, raping women, keeping them in containers, using them as slaves. As Kayla is being driven to a local hospital, her harrowing story continues. I didn't know if he was going to kill me or sell me or what. Yeah, he just wanted me for some reason. Then an unbelievable, stunning moment. He also told me that a few years back, he walked into a bike shop in Anderson. Kayla unwittingly breaks open another case investigators had been chasing for 13 years. He walked into a bike shop in Anderson and shot 4 people and left. They never found out who did it. So you decided to kill them? He liked to brag that he's a serial killer and a mass murderer. Once detectives have Kohlhepp under a microscope in a private room, he proudly spills it all himself. "I cleared that door in under 30 seconds. You guys would have been proud. I'm sorry, but you would have been proud." This guy's crazy. For years, investigators struggled to solve the brutal 2003 Superbike massacre. A crime scene with 4 victims, 0 witnesses, and no clear motive. No fingerprints, no DNA, just an eerie sketch that led nowhere. The case went ice cold, until Kayla's rescue led detectives straight to Todd Kohlhepp, a successful real estate agent hiding an unimaginable secret. But here's the problem. Kohlhepp wasn't just a killer. He was calculated, manipulative, and eerily confident. He had spent years covering his tracks, leaving authorities with more questions than answers. How did he evade justice for so long? And just how many victims were there? Totally caught me off guard. I never, in my wildest dreams, he was not somebody who was on my radar screen. I really felt like I didn't have much hope that this case would ever be solved. So here we are, 13 years later, and they finally find out who killed these people. This guy's a psychopath. He had no reason to do it, and he did it. That's what psychopaths do. Kohlhepp stumbled upon the Superbike dealership less than 2 years after returning to Spartanburg, following a 14-year juvenile prison sentence for kidnapping and raping his neighbor when he was 15. He's had issues from day one. He's been doing this probably 15 years at the age of 15 or younger. He thought a motorcycle would be a fresh start to a new life. He had bought a bike about a year ago, but someone stole it. Then when he came back in, Scott and Brian were pranksters and they asked him, "You gonna buy another bike so it can get stolen too?" He felt like they were making fun of him. That was all it took for him to return and kill everyone in the shop, leaving that sketch behind as a clue that ultimately never matched his face. So he killed them because he thought they were making fun of him? That's crazy, but Todd liked to brag to Kayla about other murders. He had another guy with him. He let her go, but she pissed him off, so he shot her in the back of the head. He said he buried her somewhere on the land too. So he's running his mouth when he's going out there feeding her and having his way with her. He's out there running his mouth, and that's how he really got caught. When the sheriff searches Todd's farm, they also find the remains of another missing couple near the body of Kayla's boyfriend, Charlie. The land was supposed to be my sanctuary. Yeah, not a killing field, right? It was supposed to be the place where I go to relax and get away from people, not deal with this. Thanks to Kayla's bravery, Spartanburg's own serial murderer is locked away for good. Other than the boy in Arizona, the Superbike murders, and the ones we have on the property, have you killed anybody else? Is that enough? No, this is the thing. No, this is the thing. This guy is sitting up here laughing. Crazy. But while the extraordinary young survivor grapples with survivor's guilt, I need to live, but you get to live. How is that fair? The family of Kohlhepp's victims thinks of her as their hero. I hate you. Are you going to die? I don't want to do this. Today, Todd Kohlhepp is serving multiple life sentences behind bars, but the mystery isn't fully solved. Authorities suspect there could be more victims, people who vanished under strange circumstances. Did Kohlhepp kill more than he admitted? And are there other missing persons cases linked to him? What do you think? Could there be more victims still undiscovered? Drop your theories in the comments below and let us know if there are any other unsolved mysteries you'd like us to investigate next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another deep dive into the world's most chilling true crime cases.